President Paul Biya authorizes the disbursement of 6.5 billion CFA francs to buttress the private education sector badly hit by the coronavirus as subsidy areas for 2018 and 2019. The need for safe blood is universal. The World Blood Donor Day is celebrated with emphasis on the importance of regular blood donations, which saves lives and makes the world a healthier place. Ngea LaRoute bows out after a prolonged illness at 60. The iconic figure in the music industry, credited for over a dozen albums and a promoter of Cameroon's culture and the Makossa rhythm, leaves her fans and family inconsolable. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 news.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Welcome back. The disbursement of the sum of 6.5 billion CFA francs has been authorized by the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, to clear subsidy areas in the private education sector for 2018 and 2019. The funds will enable the institutions resolve problems encountered as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak. In the following analysis, Ebenezer Akanga says the subsidy will cushion the effects of the pandemic.
The coronavirus pandemic has serious negative effects on private education in Cameroon. Many schools in the private sector have difficulties functioning and paying salaries of their staff. News came from the northwest region this week that teachers of Presbyterian education were on strike because of a 50% cut of their salaries due to effects of COVID-19. The authorization by the head of state for the disbursement of a subsidy of 6.5 billion CFA francs to private education is timely as it will enable the schools to resolve some of the problems. The authorization for the disbursement of 6.5 billion CFA francs to private education comes after the setting up of a special account of 180 billion CFA francs for the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. A special account that comes to add to the National Solidarity Fund, which has so far raised 160 million CFA francs for the fight against COVID-19. Apart from the subsidy of 6.5 billion francs to private education, the special account of 180 billion francs and the National Solidarity Fund to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, the head of state has made special donations like 170,000 masks to schools and protective equipment to health professionals working to save Cameroonians from coronavirus. Within a few days, therefore, President Paul Biya has taken steps to translate to concrete action his determination to keep Cameroonians away from the nefarious effects of COVID-19.
The payments of subsidy areas ordered by President Paul Biya will definitely go a long way to address the tensions in the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon education community. Its teachers have been on a sit-down strike in Mankan to decry a slash in their salaries by 50%. The trade unionists and the administrative official of Bamenda, Simon Emile Mo, have resolved to provide a feasible solution to their worries. Julius Nimba tells us more from the Northwest.
In a meeting held at PSS Mancon, the president of the Presbyterian Education Authority Teachers Trade Union, Afu Stephen, explained that the educators who had been going for months without a salary had decided to engage the sit-down strike action, following a further slash of the salaries to more than 50% by the PCC. As such, they stayed on campus but did not go to class to teach the students who were also disgruntled. Thanking the mayor of Bamenda for bringing the problem to his attention, the SDO for Mezam, Simon Emi Mo, reminded the teachers that the situation they find themselves in is a general problem faced by teachers in the private sector, particularly those in the northwest and southwest regions that has been hardly hit by the ongoing socio-political crisis. Reminding them of the dangers posed by the coronavirus, the administrative authority had this message to the students who were in class preparing for their end-of-year exams.
I'm happy that you are respecting these security measures. All of you are wearing masks. Cover well up to your nose, and you see me. Wash your hands permanently.
Promising to convene another meeting in the near future with representatives of the trade union, the Presbyterian Education Authority, and the moderator in a bid to seek a lasting solution to the crisis, the SDO for Mezam assured the PCC teachers that their complaints will be channeled to the right quarters.
And on today's communique in that same light, the Minister of Secondary Education informs the national educational community that His Excellency President Paul Biya, the President of the Republic, has just authorized the release of the sum of 6.5 billion CFA francs for the payment of state subventions to private associations and institutions. The said sum will enable the settlement of subventions owed by the states for the 2018 and 2019 fiscal years. On behalf of the national education community, the Minister of Secondary Education expresses her gratitude to the President of the Republic for his positive gesture, which aims to reduce the negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on private associations and institutions. This gesture reflects, at the same time, the constant determination of the head of state to provide best training conditions to young people in both government and private schools for their successful socio-economic integration. It is signed by the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyunga. And now, in other news, the Canadian High Commissioner to Cameroon, His Excellency Richard Bell, has reiterated his country's support to Cameroon to stall the spread of the coronavirus. In addition to the assistance in cash and kind to address the pandemic, the sum of over 2 billion CFA francs for humanitarian aid in the northwest, southwest, and north far north regions have also been announced. Charles Ebune has the details.
Canada's sixth election into the non-permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council this week. Enough reasons for her to remain committed to globalism.
Canada has a very strong tradition of multilateralism, and that's been continued throughout the global pandemic.
One clear area of actuality-based intervention by the North American country is on the anti-coronavirus war.
Additional funding to the World Health Organization.
For example, how much?
World Health Organization, if I remember correctly, was about $165 million.
So you stepped up to your funding?
Absolutely. Okay. No, absolutely. And not only the WHO, but CDC Africa.
Cameroon is one of the countries in Africa where the Canadians have increased their assistance to better defeat the coronavirus.
Specifically related to COVID, about $5 million Canadian dollars. A fairly large amount of that has actually been channeled through UNICEF for the exercise of reopening the schools.
The cash and kind resources are directed to boost preventive health care, especially in rural communities.
We've also financed about 2,000 test kits.
Canada has also committed a further roughly 2.2 billion CFA francs for humanitarian assistance in 3 troubled regions of Cameroon: the southwest, the northwest, and the far north regions.
The entirety of that interview will be broadcast on CRTV News at 8 p.m. tonight. The anti-COVID-19 caravan of the Ministry of Communication has ended in Yaoundé after a 2-week tour to the 7 cancelled areas on Fundy, intended to sensitize the population on the importance of following government recommendations to bar the way to the coronavirus. The campaign will be extended to other regions, as we hear in this report by Gerard Nanji Eyambe.
As the COVID-19 cases in the country keeps rising by the day, there is the urgent need for continuous sensitization to reduce the curve. This is exactly what staff of the Ministry of Communication have been doing for the past weeks. The campaign caravan descended to the different quarters and public spaces in the nation's capital city, raising awareness on the dangers of the pandemic.
Tout We have lent the population the barrier measures against the coronavirus. It wasn't an easy task, subsidizing them because they were not really welcoming but kept on.
Yaoundé 4 Council has decided to confront the pandemic. After this step by the Ministry of Communication, we intend to continue the campaign with the help of commercial bike riders of our area. They have been emphasizing on the need to respect government-prescribed measures to fight against the pandemic. Hand washing with soap and running water, social distancing, and systematic wearing of face mask protocols being the watchword.
They have to continue with the campaign right to the suburbs with the help of the different local councils. This will help eradicate the pandemic rapidly.
After close to 13 days on the field, the staff of the Ministry of Communication finally rounded up this exercise last Saturday on a note of satisfaction while hoping the public adheres to the prescribed measures.
And the caravan was in the 7 council areas of Yaoundé. Meantime, the people of Makak in the Nyong and Kele division are now adequately equipped to stop the spread of the deadly coronavirus in their locality. Schools, health centers and churches have received protective and sanitary kits from the Minister of Social Affairs, Pauline Irene. Gerard Nanji Yambe traveled to Makak for the distribution and reports once again.
These anti-COVID-19 kits, estimated at 3 million CFA francs, is destined for Minka, Bakue, Libaba and Gombas, all localities in the Makak subdivision. While handing over the consignment made up of cartons of soap, hydroalcoholic gel, containers adapted with taps and face masks to the heads of the health centers, churches and schools, the representative of Minister Pauline Irene was unequivocal.
She wanted to help the population to avoid this problem of COVID-19 in this region. So she has given them all this kit to fight against the COVID-19.
Through the Bassan language, the population was sensitized on how to make judicious use of the kits in order to bar the way to COVID-19 from gaining access to the subdivision that is yet to register any case.
We appreciate the gift as we have material to prevent COVID. We will continue to do it, but using the gift to help them to wash hands.
That pandemic shall not pass by this village. Before her, we have begun. We are still fighting, and we are going to fight till we win the war.
Minister Pauline Irengene's emissary left Makak satisfied, having delivered not only the message, but tools to fight against COVID-19 in that community.
In the Littoral region, members of the College Sake Alumni Association in Douala have been contributing to oust the coronavirus from the school milieu. They began their charity at the school premises with 350 face masks and several liters of hydroalcoholic gels for the pupils and their teachers. Dixon Ashu has the details.
A nostalgic refrain of the school's anthem by the 15-man delegation of the former Students' Association to recall the old school days in an educational milieu where they were inculcated good Christian and moral values like those of compassion and solidarity, here put to exercise in a time when the younger generation of this institution have to juggle with health, safety and academics. 350 face masks and 40 liters of alcoholic hand gel to show their concern.
We are very happy that you are coming to help us manage the situation very well.
They distribute and further illustrate how to properly use the items that have come to reinforce other measures in application.
Bearing in mind that 40 years ago, we were sitting in the benches here in this school, and for us it's very glad to undertake this initiative. I hope that is going to help the students. Let us pull out this pandemic.
1974-1980 connection is their new identity, and they are made up of 46 members who, since their academic exit, have been each other's keeper while showing compassion and bringing help to the needy.
The youth movements for Paul Biya Japabi has also extended a hand of fellowship to traders in the central market of Douala. Preoccupied with the negligence of some business operators in spite of the COVID-19 threat, the team led by its national coordinator, Steve Michel Aka, distributed hygiene items to both traders and buyers, as we hear in this report by Scholar Maloke.
It was an enthusiastic crowd that received members of the youth movement for Paul Biya Japabi at the Douala Central Market, as each of them tried to grab either a face mask, hand sanitizer or a tablet of soap. This gesture, according to the youth movement, is to join the head of state in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic, especially in the market milieu.
Coronavirus is a reality in our country, and we lose every day our father, our mother, our brother, our sister. Then we have to join our force to fight against this pandemic, because if we do not do that, the pandemic should exterminate the society. The choice of Marché Central is that people are together to one place, and then there is no distanciation. They wanted to sensibilize them to respect the measure made by the government.
The distribution inside the market, where buckets adapted with taps to facilitate hand washing were deposited at strategic areas, was highly appreciated by market users. This donation, which comes after that of Marché de Femmes and Chef Bastille here in Douala, is supported by Minister Samuel Vondo-Ayolo, Oswald Baboke and Celestine Kecha-Koutes. Support also came from Foendi Christophe, Ondobonga Patrice, Mendulo Mengolo Klupas, Senior Superintendent of Police Oyonone Tom Cecile and Aja Yenumani.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
In one of our top stories, awareness is being raised about the global need for safe blood and how everyone can contribute as the world celebrates World Blood Donor Day today. Giving blood in the time of COVID-19 could be unsafe, but the World Health Organization insists that donating blood saves lives. Chanceline Nancy has details of the over 40 persons who donated their blood in the West region.
More than 40 volunteers turned up at the blood bank of the Bafoussam Regional Hospital to donate the precious liquid to save lives, an activity many have been undertaking for years.
Since the first day I gave blood and I saw that I'm healthy, I decided to be here every 3 months.
It's very, very important to do such a thing, because when I did that, it helped my grandmother to live again for at least 5 years. So I made up my mind to continue doing that, not only for my grandmother, but for every other person that is in need of blood.
During the ceremony to close the 4-day campaign, regular donors were awarded attestations of recognition.
I was very touched by one donor who had given blood 30 times. These certificates will serve to them as windows to the hospital, where we shall come to their assistance when they have health problems, to them, their spouses, and their biological children.
In order to encourage other people to make voluntary blood donation a habit, an association of blood donors of the Bafoussam Regional Hospital will be set up in the days ahead.
The wearing of face masks is obligatory in the public transport sector, and commuters are obliged to abide by the order. Unfortunately, there is a degree of laxity noticed by authorities, which health experts suggest is one of the areas where contaminations are common. Today, 292 new cases have been recorded. With Baldwin Samuel at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center, we talk of the possibility of recovering from COVID-19 without treatment. Hi, Baldwin.
Good evening, Esther Kiman. Welcome to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center this Sunday evening, where the number of confirmed cases of Cameroonians infected with COVID-19 keeps increasing on a daily basis. And this Sunday, out of 1,602 samples that were collected and tested, 292 samples were tested positive for COVID-19 in the country. This Sunday, we have one person who died of COVID-19 in Cameroon this Sunday, and no Cameroonian recovered as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And as we always tell our viewers, these statistics concern the different regions affected as far as COVID-19 is concerned, with public health experts for the Ministry of Public Health who continue in their ongoing strive to save as many lives as possible ever since we have this spread of COVID-19 in the country. And tonight, with our guest, Dr. Eric Tanzi, a public health expert in the Ministry of Public Health, we wish to look at how possible it is for somebody tested positive for COVID-19 to recover without being administered any treatment. Good evening, doctor.
Yeah, good evening, Borden.
More often than not, when an individual is tested positive and they say such an individual, for example, is asymptomatic, who he doesn't produce the signs or the symptoms but can contaminate others, he is asked to get himself or herself quarantined for 14 days. And after these 14 days, he says he or she must have recovered without being administered any drug. How possible is that?
Yeah, Borden, you know, with COVID-19, which is still a recent virus in our community, research is still very ongoing. I must say, we've not even gone up to 1/4 of what we need to know about this virus. However, these individuals, once you've been tested positive and asymptomatic, you have been placed under quarantine, and I guess a protocol is being given or observation is being done on you. When somebody declared that after 14 days of being in confinement and get well or get tested negative, we should be very specific here that some go on other products or some go on auto medication, but we want to consider a scenario where this individual did not take anything at all, but medics were doing monitoring on daily basis as usual. You know, as individual, we have a degree of immunity within our various human body, their compositions and immunity. So this immunity actually fights. That is why you've been tested positive, but without producing any signs and symptoms. It means your immunity is actually working and fighting against some of these symptoms. That is why you were unable to produce any signs and symptoms. So in that case, we believe that your natural immunity have been able to fight against this.
Do antibodies have a key role to play as far as fighting against the virus is concerned?
Yeah, in that case, we might say yes, because if individuals that have been producing all this antibody against the virus, then we have to conclude that there was a degree of certainty as far as that is concerned, based on individual immunity. But then we have to be very careful here not to have misleading information, because some people, or either of us, might have a different degree of immunity that responds to the different aspects of science. Somebody might have immunity against cold, some might have against sore throat or increase in body temperature, but mine is not everybody.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for being a guest on the 7:30 newscast this evening. Esther, during their traditional press briefing this evening, public health experts for this Emergency Operations Center used the opportunity to remind Cameroonians of the importance of continuing wearing, they should continue wearing their face mask as far as finding themselves in the transport sector is concerned, be they in taxis or public transport buses. They must continue wearing their face mask as far as to be able to limit the spread of COVID-19 in as much as they continue equally respecting physical distancing, reminding them that they should continue making use of the different available screening centers in the country, especially those in Douala and Yaoundé. These screening centers now permit them to have themselves screened and get to know their status in less than 30 minutes with the use of these rapid test kits. 292 persons tested positive for COVID-19 out of 2,602 samples collected today, and one Cameroonian died of COVID-19, with no Cameroonian who recovered from the virus this Sunday. Back to you, Esther.
Thank you very much, Baldwin. It is important to note that getting well with that treatment is an assurance that only medical doctors can ascertain. Meantime, 2 water points have been constructed by the Korea International Cooperation Agency, KOICA, in Bitili village in the South region. The gesture is intended to help the population have better quality water and to preempt waterborne diseases. Clarence Aze reports on the philanthropic move applauded by the local and administrative authorities of the area.
Ululations from excited villagers in Bitili, a village in the Bolivar 2 subdivision, as they watch clean water flow down the newly constructed hand-operated tubular well. The Korea International Cooperation Agency, KOICA, has constructed 2 of such wells in the locality. The volunteer program senior manager, KOICA Cameroon, Kyu Mung Na, says the water points are aimed at improving health and sanitation in the locality.
We are really satisfied because now this coronavirus, and also I really hope that this too will help this village to getting better life. Villagers
in Bitili have thanked their donors, saying they can now better protect themselves against the coronavirus and other waterborne diseases.
I am so glad, I'm so happy that my council is honored with the South Korean government is enabling us. They are taking care of us. They are supporting us in our efforts to develop our country at large.
If water is life, then the people of Bitili now have it in abundance.
The regional head of the United Councils and Cities of Cameroon for the Adamawa has been elected by his peers during a General Assembly. Abu Abubakar was voted to run for a 5-year term and challenged to foster the infrastructural development of the Adamawa region. Saila Nkwan attended the General Assembly and now reports for the 7:30 News.
All the 21 councils of the Adamawa region gave Mayor Abu Abubakar another 5 years in office as the regional chair of the United Councils and Cities of Cameroon. Known to be the hard-working mayor, his election instills greater momentum to take the development process in the Adamawa forward.
First, we have to continue what we have begun to innovate in so many sectors as infrastructure, health, sport and tourism, which are the basic sectors which the state have transferred its competence and its resources.
Mayor Abu Abubakar and his team would also have to go an extra mile to bring about more positive socio-economic change for local communities.
My promise is to continue what we did our last 5 years. We have to do more and to work hard.
To the first Vice President of the United Councils and Cities of Cameroon, Soman Francois, who oversaw the election in the presence of Governor Kidati Tage Kebuka and the United Councils and Cities chairpersons of the East and the Southwest regions. The Adamawa region is a national reference in sustainable development.
We recommend Mr. Abu to become, maybe, why not, the national president of UCCC. Maybe he will show to other municipalities how to have the same result. Adamawa is one of the best practices we need.
Also elected were representatives of the 5 divisions of the region.
In culture news, 10 documents relating to the collection and distribution of royalties, authors' rights and works of art in Cameroon have been signed by 5 authors' rights organs in the country. The agreement details the funds to be perceived as well as the rights and obligations of the management bodies. Emmanuel Avenu reports on the text which the Minister of Arts and Culture, Bedung Pat, says will ensure transparency.
To end tensions around royalties, authors' rights and related rights, it needed a return to the root cause, the revision of obsolete texts to accommodate the 5 organs that manage these rights in the country.
These texts, most of which were drafted in 2004, needed to be dated up in order to provide collective management with the standards needed to solve the current problems in this sector.
NTECs are now here for all to appreciate.
Since creation, CRTV could not even go down to the field because it did not have portfolio and we did not have the barems, harmonized barems for perception. So this text takes into consideration the new companies that came in, distributes the different portfolios. All the money comes into a single account, and it is the new text that is signed today that will determine how which company takes what share.
The playground now seems level for Sosiladra, Scalp, CRTV, Sokadab and Sonakam, all management bodies of authors' rights in Cameroon.
The idea of people claiming that distribution should be done equally is going to just rest, and now we can apply the text and be able to share the resources in a reasonable and rational manner.
But is this coming to end the tussle over authors' rights among artists?
There will be no squabbles between the companies in the field because these companies have workers in the field who used to clash, but the clashes will disappear.
At least recalcitrant artists nationwide can now be tracked and sanctioned.
And the cultural sector is bereaved. Mama Ngeya is no more. The iconic figure in Cameroon's music industry with dozens of albums to her credit since the 90s quit the scene today at 60 after prolonged ill health. With over 25 years of musical career and hits like Chauffeur Moteur and Recompense, Ngeya Laroute will be sorely missed. She's remembered by her colleagues for her hard work, her melodious voice and her sense of humor. Kikishi Lawrence tells us more.
It was a gloomy atmosphere that stood out at the Koto Sheferi neighborhood in Douala, where Ngeya Laroute was living before her death. Friends and family members, despite the fear of the killer COVID-19 spread, braved it to ensure that she was taken to the Douala General Hospital while getting set to give her a befitting burial. Ngeya Laroute took ill some 2 years ago, and the situation worsened to the point where doctors had to amputate her 2 legs. After numerous appeals for financial aid, the Ministry of Culture gave her some 2 million francs. Other benefactors came in, but all efforts to save her failed this Sunday, June 14, 2020. Ngeya Laroute will be remembered for several Makossa songs in which she was the lead singer in the last 25 years. May she find rest in the Lord.
She is gone, but her works definitely live on. Tribute has also been paid to the late mayor of the Limbe 1 Council, Rodani Mokako Mbua, who died last April in Douala. This was during a remembrance service at the Presbyterian Church Bota Limbe, where the clergy and CPDM sympathizers of Fako 1A, led by Andrew Mutanga Monjimba, hailed the deceased for his devotedness. Tanjong Levi Sagbo has the details.
It is often said the hour of death cannot be forecast. Late Mayor Rodani Mokako Mbua, Mayor of Limbe 1, remained silent on the 25th of April 2020 in remembrance of the dynamic local administrator and active member of the CPDM party. CPDM members of the Fako A1 section paid their last respect in a service of remembrance in Limbe, which to them it is to show that he is dead but not forgotten.
Symbolic because since his demise, we've not had any opportunity of really remembering him officially. You know, from the cost and the like of his burial, we were left in the blank. A very young man who strived through hard work to plant. We miss him so much.
In the homily drawn from the Book of Romans, the parish pastor of PC Bota, Reverend Bisong Johnson Tabe, emphasized on the need for all to draw closer to God, especially during this period when the world is hard hit by sociopolitical upheavals and health crisis. Late Mayor Rodani Mokako was elected mayor of Limbe 1 Council in 2013 and re-elected during the 2022 elections until his death.
And that will be how we end this edition of the 7:30 News. Before we go, a recap of our major stories. President Paul Biya has authorized the disbursement of 6.5 billion CFA francs to buttress the private education sector that has been badly hit by the coronavirus as subsidy areas for 2018 and 2019. The need for safe blood is universal. The World Blood Donor Day has been celebrated today with emphasis on the importance of regular blood donations, which save lives and which makes the world a better place. And finally, Gail LaRue has bowed out of the scene after a prolonged illness at the age of 60. The iconic figure in the music industry, credited for over a dozen albums and a promoter of Cameroon's culture and the Makossa beats, leaves her fans and her family just with her voice today. More news comes up at 8:30 p.m. with Karen Olivia Beat. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Good night and thanks for watching. Have a beautiful week ahead. Bye-bye.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing